What is up, good people, and welcome to the All Basketball Podcast. And I'm your host, Maurice Dixon, coming to you on October 25th for another season preview at the high school level. And this time we're going to be delving into the girls' game and talking to one of the best coaches in the metro Atlanta area and just the state of Georgia, just based off the dominance they've had recently. And on the show this evening, I have with me not just a three-time championship coach, but three-time reigning championship coach at the highest classification in Georgia, or just on the high school level for girls. Coach Hilda Hankerson from Westlake. Coach Hankerson, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing fine, thank you. How you doing?
Doing great. So glad. So thankful you could join me for another preview show. We get to previewing this.
I appreciate you having me.
Most definitely. And just going to get right to it, Coach. How have you been adjusting and your players been adjusting to the COVID-19 guidelines, just everything that's going on right now that has affected our country and the way we have to do life at the moment?
Well, we haven't had an opportunity to really get into it a lot. All we've been able to do right now is just do some conditioning. And we start our tryouts on Monday when we go, with the full ball and everything. And that social distancing piece will be really, really something that's going to be interesting for them to make sure that they're not huddling and wanting to talk to each other, because they all haven't been together since, March, since the state championship and the ring ceremony. And in order for us to figure out how to practice and have the managers to keep the balls cleaned and, to come out there with your mask on, it's going to be a challenge, but I'm sure we can figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll navigate it properly and correctly and safely and everything. It's just far as from communicating with your players, how has been preparing for this season been different for them?
Well, normally we would have had an opportunity to maybe play in a fall league or something like that. And we have intentionally stayed away from any other opportunities to get together as much as we possibly can, except for, like I said, just some conditioning and keeping everybody spread out in the gym, conditioning, footwork, things of that nature. Normally we would have been together and at least been able to see a ball around the girls, and they have been able to do that a little bit longer with their AAU different teams. So it's not like they've been together, but at least in the AAU realm, they have been able to play a little bit more of an extended season because the high schools weren't able to do anything. So the AAU, I guess they figure, hey, we're going to go a little bit longer and give the college coaches an opportunity to at least see the kids online. So that's how it has been paying off for us.
Okay. As far as some of the GHSA guidelines for COVID-19, some things they've changed. One thing that stood out for everybody was there would be no jump ball. Is that going to be, how do you view that? Or is there anything else that you were kind of like, why are they doing that for the game?
Well, I know why they're doing it. And, one of the reasons too, they have been trying to possibly remove the jump ball, because there's always been a lot of controversy about how fair the toss is. And I get that. But when you have somebody, we got a player on the team who can, touch the rim. So, we look forward to that as the start of the offense whenever we can. And it'll be something that we'll have to get adjusted to, coming up with something else a little bit extra to do, because the ball will be handed to the visiting team. And when we are the visiting team, we want to make sure that we capitalize on that opportunity to score. the best way that we possibly can and take it away from our opponents.
Okay. I guess one of the, well, that's a little, it's a little far off, but I'll get right to it. I don't know if you're going to be in tournaments or anything this season, but we finally got a shot clock here in Georgia. Thank God. Don't have it right away. I'm all for it. Was very glad to hear the news. How do you feel about them bringing upon the shot clock and the way they're implementing it, and what are your overall thoughts on it?
Well, personally, I'm for it. I know a lot of people aren't, but I am for the shot clock because at the next level, they are required to play with the shot clock. And when you have a team who can control the game with a shot clock and keep you from scoring down the stretch, especially when you're in playoff time, it doesn't give the defense a chance to be rewarded when you are playing defense so hard and you can never get the ball back unless you foul. And then if you're fouling their best free throw shooter, then they're going to go to the line and knock the free throws down. And and I've done that. I've been one of those teams that I've had a guard. I had a guard that shot 82% from the free throw line. And we put the ball in her hands. Now, I can't do that with every team. Every team I've had is not strong enough to hold that ball. Because some of them, you're like, oh, my gosh, 2 passes, that's about all you're going to get before you turn it over. We were our own worst enemy. But when you have that team that can hold that ball with a good chance of making sure that ball is in your best free throw shooter's hands, I once had a kid hit 25 free throws in 1 quarter by doing that. It's not the best way, but I'm gonna do what the rules allow me to do. And I don't want anybody doing me that way because I get people to hold the ball on me. And I don't like holding it. But if it's going to be my best option, and some teams, we may have had good teams, but that team couldn't hold the ball. They couldn't hold water. 2 passes, and we were coughing it up. I'm going to tell you. But when you have that team, I do what is best for the team that I have in front of me.
Okay. Definitely understand that. New season is upon us. Just talk to me about some of the, expectations. You're currently you're 3-time state champion, reigning state champion, 9-0 against in-state competition, which is just a remarkable stat or notation to have on your current resume. So just expectations.
Well, definitely the expectations are high. We still have 2 young ladies on the team who were on the first state championship team in this run. And we have some pieces that's still around them in order to play hard this season. And, you always go after the crown, whether you get it or not. We're going to keep it before us. And, we have, Raven Johnson, who has been named Miss Georgia Basketball as a junior and was named the USA Player of the Year for Georgia for women's basketball and the Athlete of the Year for USA Today in Georgia. So we're very proud to have an athlete of her caliber on our team and to have a good bunch of kids that surround her that are capable of possibly pursuing another championship. None of this is going to be easy. The COVID is a major factor. You got to stay healthy. We just finished having a region meeting to discuss what we think it might look like. And we're trying to make sure that we get all those region games in a timely manner so that we can get ready for the state playoff. So it's a lot of other variables that are beyond our control. So this one will be really different and a lot more different than we've ever had to tackle. Just the locker room expectations, kids aren't allowed to sit in those locker rooms and, talk to each other. You know, a lot of good stuff going on in the locker room before the coach walks in. You know, they're getting themselves together and getting psyched out. Well, that's going to be in the hallway somewhere now. You know, we're just going to have a limited number of people in that locker room at one time. And that is going to be different. Your ride on the bus is different, making sure that they're spread out. And most of the time, we're not on top of each other on the bus anyway, but making sure that we are sitting in specific seats and all of that, coming dressed. We're not going to the locker rooms to get dressed there. You know, a lot of times, a lot of that psyching yourself out and getting ready happens when you're getting dressed, putting your uniform on, getting taped. Well, that's not going to happen like that. We're going to arrive already dressed. We've already made that rule. And the kids, for the most part, they're coming from home. We have an option to go face-to-face or virtual. So the majority of my kids are coming from home to get to the game. and that's going to be a different piece too. You know, making sure you got to ride, making sure they get there on time for the game. So there's a lot of more variables that we are going to have to work real hard to work through. I don't say this is going to be an easy task. This is probably going to be one of the most difficult seasons to navigate that we've ever had, that I've ever had in my career. And for all the coaches, we're all trying to figure this thing out daily. We don't know what could happen, you know, from taking the temperatures. You know, you just can't walk out there and just get started. We have to take a temperature, answer COVID questions for the players and the coaches. You know, I'm turning the thermometer around on my own head, taking my own temperature. I'm taking it more than once a day just to make sure. So everybody is under a specific safeguard by the Georgia High School Association and by the Fulton County as well. So we have guidelines from both ways that we must follow.
Oh, wow. Yes, it definitely sounds like a lot. So you're basically saying that if even if you're in, students are at school for, say, I know they're not in the school every day, but even if they're in school, they won't just go from a natural progression of, okay, school's over, we got a couple of hours, then we go get ready for the game. Or it may never line up like that?
Oh, no. Because normally we go into the locker room, we prepare for the pregame meal. We got rules on the pregame meal. If it's going to be food that is bought in by the parents, only the parents can serve. They're the only one touching the utensils to serve the kids. All kind of little things like that that's in writing now. Or you're purchasing food that's already prepackaged for pregame meals, like maybe a Chick-fil-A box lunch or a Subway box lunch. Those are the things that are different. And sitting in there eating as a team for the pregame meal, no, we're going to be spread out in the bleachers somewhere, you know, almost screaming across the gym to your teammates in order to eat your pregame meal. All of that's going to look really different as opposed to that, you know, in there locking elbows and saying a prayer before you eat your food and then eat in your locker room or a safe place like that won't happen anymore.
Wow. It's going to be an interesting time. As far as the schedule, just what do you have set in stone? And do you have any, are you going to be playing quite a few out-of-state teams like before, or?
Woo. I think I am some days. And as of today, somebody else just texted me and said, you know what? We're having to make some adjustments because everybody is not willing to let you use their facilities. And if you can't use them and bring in the people that you want to bring in, because these people run these tournaments to make money too now. And when they set these tournaments up, unless you are a tournament that is set up by pro players that maybe aren't in it for the money, you feel me? They're not in it for the money maybe. So therefore, those tournaments can be run without having a lot of fans. But a lot of these other tournaments are slowly backing out. I got one that's sitting on the bubble right now. He said, well, I think I can still do it, but I'm not sure. This might come down to just playing teams in the state of Georgia and in my region maybe.
Mm.
The numbers could get smaller and smaller. We were possibly going to one tournament and playing a classic here in the metro area. I'm not sure we're going to play in those two classics because now they're losing the opportunity to play at people's gyms. You know, APS is our Atlanta Public Schools. They're not having any fans. Clayton County, they just said they're not having any fans, but they can possibly revisit it. DeKalb County, no fans. Fulton County, we have a limited number. I think ours is around like 400, 100 for the visitors, 300 for the home team. So it's changing daily.
Wow, what about
all I do know is that we will play, whether it's in front of fans. That's the question.
Is it? Do you know the media guidelines, or is a certain number of media allowed, or because it obviously isn't that many of us?
Hey, man, I'm already fighting to be one of the people to go and scout my visiting teams. I'm working on that. I can't even think about you all yet. Okay. I'm like, wait a minute now. We're the only school in our region that's allowing fans. So do I get a chance to go scout? It's a question mark on that. That just came up the other day. And so now we got to figure that piece out. They can't come and watch me and I can't come see them now. Come on. But right now, that's where it's sitting until we get further information. And as far as the press, man, I couldn't even begin to ask about y'all. All I did was ask about myself because I'm with Fulton County. And there's two teams in Fulton County, Westlake and Langston. We're the only two teams in the Fulton County in our region. And the rest of them have shut down their opponents' fans and their own fans too. So every day it changes. And all I want to do is be able to put the kids on. And if that means the kids on and nobody else, then so be it. That's what it's going to end up. I guess we're going to have our own bubble like the pros.
Right. Who else is in the region? Who else? Because I was told you guys are moving to a new region.
Yeah. We're in a new region with, let me see, North Atlanta is the only Atlanta public school. Then we have Lovejoy, Lakeside, Langston Hughes, Tucker, Morrow. That's it off the top of my head. It might be one or two more I might be missing. But yeah, that's who we're looking at right now. So the majority of those teams we have not seen in years, you know, so I don't even know what they have. I'm not even sure what the players' names are, okay? No idea, because we changed classification. We were in 7A, now we're in 6A. So I have no clue about a lot of these teams that we're getting ready to play against. Okay, so and that's the thing that's going to be difficult if we're not given the opportunity to go and scout.
Wow. As far as your players, people are pretty familiar with. They've as many years they've been at Westlake, they've been champions. That's Brianna Turnage and Raven Johnson, and I see they're
correct.
Brianna's committed to Virginia Tech at the moment, and Raven is committed to South Carolina. Just two great players. What are your expectations for them, and with this being their senior season?
Well, I do expect them to lead in a strong way for the younger kids that are on the team, because they've been there for the 3 state championships. There are some girls on the team that have 1 championship, and there are some that have 2. But they're the only 2 that's left from that original bunch. And if it means anything, it means probably more to those 2 than anybody. You know, Raven mentioned to me when she first came to Westlake, when we got ready to get our sizes for our first ring, and the gentleman who was taking the sizes for the girls, he said, well, pick the other finger that may not be sitting right next to the first size of the ring. So we're like, so Raven looked. She said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, you don't want the rings to be touching each other when you wear them. And she looked at him and she put up 4 fingers. She says, I'm winning 4. She didn't smile. He said, Okay, sit down. Give me any finger you want. You know, you don't have many kids that walk with that air of confidence. She said to me her freshman year, before we ever played a game, she says, I want to help these seniors win a championship. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of young kids talk with that type of confidence and that type of tenacity to want to be better and to want to make Westlake greater than we had ever been. We had been in almost every state playoff except for 2 in over 25 years. And we've had 4 Final Fours, about 5 or 6 Elite Eights, so many Sweet 16s, but we had never won a championship. But for her to walk in and make a statement like that, I never had a kid to talk like that their freshman year. Now, as they get older, they become big, bad, and boss, you know. But a freshman to say that, it impressed me that day.
Very, very impressive. And I guess you got to replace some players as always. It just happens. One being Lydia Freeman, who was 6'5", just a force in the paint. I last saw her play against Collins Hill when you went back to back. I didn't get to see her last year. I know she's at Georgia Southern right now.
Correct. Yes.
And not to say who's going to replace her, but who's stepping into that role. Who do you see stepping into that role?
Well, we're just going to look probably a little bit different this year. You know, we won't have that 6'5" force that if you get past my guards, you know, then you got to get past the giant. And it's been great to have her back there. And it's going to take some adjustments. Our offense will look a little different. Things that we were able to do with her, she was always a good bailout. Throw it up there. Hey, she would draw 3 and 4 people around her. And I'm going to miss it. You're about to make me shed a tear. I'm gonna miss that big baby in the paint. But we're just going to look a little different. Let's just put it that way. It won't look the same, but I think we'll put a quality, group of kids on the floor.
Definitely. I know you will. You just have been so consistent as far as that. You told me you're over 600 wins now, right? So.
Right. I'm over 600 now. Been blessed to have some great kids. You know, I've looked back over the years and it just seemed like it just started to add up. And I didn't even realize it until I think one of my assistant coaches asked me one day when I was getting my 300th win. He says, how many wins do you have? I said, well, I don't know. So then I sat down and counted. And at that point, I was about 20 wins away from 300. And so I've kind of stayed abreast of it since then, but I didn't think anything of it. But Westlake has been a winning program for over 25 years. When I came to Westlake, they had only won 3 games that season before. And I was the assistant coach at that point. And I asked the head coach, I said, well, how many wins did y'all have last year? He said 3. I said, I said, but what I see out here, I said, we're going to have more than 3. And we've never had a losing season since. That was it. And in Westlake, we've just been blessed with some great athletes that have come through the program. You know, God has been faithful in placing those kids in our path.
Wow. That's really impressive. And I guess with just the fact that, how are you preparing your girls for the fact that undefeated in Georgia, 90 and counting, how you prepare them for, I guess, the local competition to keep the streak going? I mean,
well, that's not always as easy because sometimes they can get a little bit lax, and it takes hopefully just keeping their mindset on the prize. And sometimes that immediate day-to-day gets a little bit more challenging. When you're getting ready to play for the tournament, they kind of step it up. But sometimes day-to-day they get a little lax, like, why? I have to practice so hard. You know, I'm seeing past the team that we're getting ready to play. I'm seeing playoff. They're seeing, oh, we're going to beat them, right? So their mindset, I have to coach their mind in this situation harder than I coach their game, because they got the game. It's the mind that is the part that is the most challenging.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest challenge, because you have to, when it becomes to decide who's going to be the best between the two best teams, it's all mental at that point. I mean, yeah, athleticism and
Right.
skill definitely, but just that mental edge can play a great role in deciding who wins that game. As far as the WNBA, unfortunately, women's college basketball, men's college basketball, COVID came. It cut off that. I guess most states got in their high school champions. Fortunately for your program, you did as well. The WNBA bubble was a success, along with the NBA bubble. Constant testing, it was 100% effective. I mean, if you had to leave and you had to quarantine, and you just couldn't, they were just very strict on it. It worked, and they got their two champions. Uh, how do you, if you and your team were placed in a bubble, how do you think y'all would respond to it?
Oh, I think we would be fine in it, because, we've traveled a good little bit, and, we've been in hotels and been to different, parts of the United States, and had to adjust to cold weather to hot weather, enjoy the beaches, the pools in the hotel. And it wasn't considered a really a bubble, but don't think we haven't talked about it now. It might be the only way to stay safe. And the kids are already virtual. They're already virtual in the classroom. And it goes across my mind quite a bit, to be honest. And I've watched what the pros, the pro men and the women's teams have done. And it worked. It worked for them. And it kept everybody healthy. It's crazy, but we're in these times that you got to think about it. What would that look like? And I don't know how we could do it on the high school level, but it's not past my thinking. Let's just put it that way. It'll be in the back of my mind if it's something that's a necessity.
Yes, it's definitely worth going to for if all else fails, because we don't want the best teams, somebody just to be disqualified because someone got sick and they didn't take proper protocol. We definitely don't want that. We want to, if we're going to get this thing rolling, we want to get it completed as well. And
we've seen some teams in volleyball and in softball already to be knocked out because of the COVID. That's already happened. And it's a travesty that, but the tournament has to go on. Unfortunately, we don't have any good ways to stop it and to wait. We can't wait 14 days for that team to quarantine and then move on with the next level of the playoff. So because of the high school and how the tournaments are set up, you're knocked out. It's over. Next man up. The team that was below you gets that opportunity to go. And I've seen that happen right now in volleyball and in the softball. I haven't seen it in football because we haven't gotten that far. But the volleyball and softball teams have already lost people along the way in the state of Georgia.
You just hate to hear that. Wow, I feel for them. Just to being the competitor I am, and the 3 years of high school basketball that I played, just knowing that you can't finish something, I just feel for them.
Yeah, and we were blessed to get our state championship in. My sister lives in North Carolina. Okay. They did not finish theirs. Oh. They called it co-champions, I believe. Several states called them co-champions. And some of them just let it drop and say, none, period. We were so blessed. The day we played that Saturday, We came home Sunday, spent home with our family. On Monday, we came to school. They did a pep rally for us for winning the championship. Tuesday, we were going home. It was just that quick. We never got a team picture with the trophy.
Wow.
Other than the picture that you take on the floor at the state championship. That's the only picture we have as a team with the trophy. I'm gonna have to blow that picture up. That's the only one I have. Usually we do a photo shoot afterwards, and we didn't get a chance this time. But we're just thankful that we were able to at least play the game. I mean, by the time we played that game, the COVID was starting to rise. It was to the point where, you know, the referee reached out and grabbed my hand to shake it when we were in the circle. And, I flinched to try to yank it back almost. That's how, nervous things were for me at that point. And I was already cleaning basketballs before the state passed the rule. The last 2 weeks of the game of the playoff, I was already wiping my balls down, spraying the locker rooms down. And we weren't even told to do that, but I had enough sense that I'm going to protect these kids. And we were already doing that at Westlake to try to make sure that these kids stayed healthy in order to play the playoff. And now it's a rule that you got to clean the balls, sanitize the locker rooms and all of that. Now it's written, but we were doing it before it was written in order to get through the state playoff last year.
Wow. Well, great way by you of getting ahead of everything. And just, I guess, just in your nature as a woman, I can just, me being married, I can see, it just makes sense. You just go, let's get ahead of stuff. Always thinking ahead. Well, Coach Hankerson, I don't have any more specific questions. Anything else you'd like to add before I close out the show?
Well, just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. And we just want everybody, all the teams out there to, stay safe. Stay safe with your kids. Make sure that the kids are, socially distancing. And we want every team to have the opportunity to be successful this year and not let COVID hit in order to be a reason as to why your team cannot move on. So it's going to take everybody being vigilant. Like I said, as I watched this thing started to emerge last season, I knew then that we needed to do more. And we all now are mandated. And since we are mandated, let's all just step it up and do a good job this season.
Well said. Well said, Coach Hankerson. I hope everybody does that and we get the season, the 2020-2021 high school basketball season here in Georgia completed. Thank you so much for coming on with me this evening. Just obviously stay healthy. I know you're taking care of everything you need to take care of as far as staying safe. So I just wish you continued health and your players and just continue to do so. And we'll see how everything shakes out this in the coming months.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome and thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And well, folks, that's all for this edition of the All Basketball Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Maurice Dixon. We thank three-time champion, reigning championship coach, Hilda Hankerson from Westlake for joining us. Like I always say, just stay healthy. And until next time, peace and be blessed in Jesus' name.